All right, guys, what's up? It's Kyle with another episode of Unlocking Your Inner Strength with my longtime good friend, Carl Sanflippo. Carl was on a different podcast we did almost 2 years ago now. Actually, he's done a few, I believe, and it's been awesome. So, Carl, thanks for being with me.
Hey, man, thanks for having me back. I just did a workout with you.
Yeah.
Forgot how hard your workouts are compared to the regular workouts, but I loved it. This is a great way to get together. You know, some people like to see their old friends and go to a bar and have a drink. I think it was much better to do a workout and do something like this.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You get your energy up, right? You drink, the energy comes down, and, brought back a lot of memories just doing that because Carl was one of my first official members when we opened the first Newell Strength facility back in 2011.
Right, 600 square feet.
Yeah, can you imagine 600 square feet, like 3 times the size of this room that we're sitting in. And you kept coming and showing up and we're always supportive, which I always appreciated. And it was cool because at that time, you were kind of starting, and we'll go into this story, but you were starting the path that you're on now, and you're creating this empire, which is so inspirational to see. So let's go back to 2011 when you were training, right, at Newell Strength. What were you doing as far as what was going on in your life? What was going on in your career? Were you married yet? I know there was no kids yet. So talk about that, and then we'll kind of go down the journey.
Right. So 2011, I had been a regular real estate agent for about 3 or 4 years. I was doing pretty well. I was at a Century 21 in Hillsborough. My family had been in the business, so I got into the business. But I just started dating my wife now when we have kids, but I wasn't really happy. I didn't feel challenged. I was making 6 figures. I wasn't working too hard, but I knew I wanted more. And one thing I always wanted to do is surround myself by people who were doing more than I was doing. So we started training, and you and I used to have these really awesome conversations. We were talking a little bit about it before we got on. We were talking about marketing. We were talking about building landing pages. We were talking about enrolling people. Because I always say, I'm a real estate broker now. We have about 300 agents, but I always tell people we're all in the same business. We're in the enrollment business. We're enrolling people to work with. We're enrolling clients, and we're keeping them. Because if you enroll 4 people and 7 people walk out the door, who cares you enrolled 4? So it's about enrolling people, building a community. So it's 2011, and I just knew I wanted more. I didn't even quite know what I wanted to do. All I know is I enjoyed doing real estate. I enjoyed helping others. So in 2013, I bought my first business. It was a RE/MAX franchise in East Brunswick. We had about 8 agents. I remember walking in the first day, I'm sitting in this old, rinkety, terrible office, sat down at the desk. The Wi-Fi didn't work, and I'm thinking, oh, what the hell did I just get myself into? I don't know what I'm going to do, right? We've all had those moments as an entrepreneur. I remember being 6 months into my business, calling my mom. I'm very close with my parents still. Called my mom. I said, Mom, I don't know if I did the right thing. I said, well, what was I thinking? Why do I need this headache? I was selling real estate. I was having a great time. I still had shore houses with why do I need this? And I remember that because I call that one of my sliding glass door moments where I said, you're either going to do one of 2 things right now. You're either going to fight or you're going to flight to make it work. And I decided I was going to fight. Because I wasn't married, I didn't have kids. I was having this conversation with a 22-year-old agent yesterday. This was my time to double down. I have no excuses, right? I can't say, my family, my wife is extremely supportive, even with all the crazy stuff we do. But I said, I'm going to fight. And we've built the company from 1 location, 8 agents. Officially now we have 4, opened a 5th location. We have about 300 agents. We have a bunch of other businesses that tie into our real estate office. Our organization's about 350 to 400 people altogether that I manage and oversee. And it's all about those little moments where you have to make a decision in your head. Or, are you going to fight or flight? Because most people's natural reaction is to flight. Something's awkward. They don't want to have a tough conversation. What do? They put it off. You see it as a gym owner. I've been there too in my health journey of put it off. Tomorrow I'm going to go. Tomorrow I'm going to go. Tomorrow I'm going to go. It's that natural flight reaction. So what you have to do sometimes is you have to decide you're going to fight. So I went through a lot of challenges, a lot of hurdles, and we fought to build a business. And building a business now to me is much different than it was, as we were just talking about, 10 years, because it's going to be 10 years in August. which is also wild because it feels like just yesterday. And it also feels like it's been a lifetime, you know? So I couldn't really think about doing anything else. But then even though you go through your stages, we've hit a lot of success. Last year, we did $1.2 billion in sales volume, 3,000 transactions, title company, mortgage company, all this stuff, right? We had a blowout year. Real estate markets pulled back this year, about 30%. We made a lot of investments this year into our business. And I made that purposely saying, hey, my income might step back, but I want to take 3-4 steps forward. And a lot of people are always trying to look into invest in the best technology, the new this, the new that. I made a decision 2 years ago is I'm going to stop investing in this stuff and I'm going to start investing more into people. Because if you want to build a tribe, you need people. So we built out a leadership team. And I tell my leadership team, and I say this to myself, you always have to look for your replacement. You're doing a great job, great. You need to train your replacement. So you could do more and they could do more. And that's how we're going to build. Where I'm also training sort of someone, I don't want to say replace because people think that means I'm not going to be in the business, but somebody who could run the company as equally as I can, if not better, so I can focus on other things. And my job really is to help people grow their business. Like anything else is, if you come into our company and I can't help you grow and I can't deliver on the promises that we discussed before you joined, there's so many options out there. I mean, we want to talk about competitive business. Kyle, you're in a very competitive business. The gym business is a very, I think I saw there was a gym across the street here, right in the complex you're in.
Yep.
Real estate offices are everywhere. And I always say is our goal is never to be the cheapest, it was to be the best. Our agents could go somewhere, get a better deal. I get that. So I have to deliver on what my message is every day. And more importantly is my leadership team needs to. I can't be in 4 locations every day. I can't replicate myself. And you know what? I have some people that work for me that probably like people on our leadership team better than they like me, but they respect me because we're going to follow through on what we say. So from 2011 to now, that's sort of been my journey in the quick little coffee cup moment. But it's all about the challenges and how to overcome the challenges. And the last 2 years, I don't care what business you're in, it's been a crazy 2 years with shutdowns and can't show houses and all the rules about with COVID and they come into the office and the cleanings. I mean, it was a full-time job just to manage that. But those tough times make you better. And I'm excited to see the real estate market slow down a little bit because it wasn't on a pace that wasn't sustainable. Agents were just going crazy. But what happens is most great businesses get built during tough times. It's not during the good. Everyone sees the good times, right? Oh, look at this. Bah, you must be. You don't see the tough times. And this is when true businesses are built. So I'm excited because I think the next year or two, and I don't think the real estate market's crashing. I think inventory is going to stay low. A lot of people refinance their house at rates of 3%, so they're not looking to sell and buy a house at 6%. So I think inventory is going to stay tight, which is going to keep prices up. We're still actively buying, so I could say that, and I'm also doing it. I'm actively still buying rental properties, and we still do fix and flips. But I think this is going to be a great opportunity. I tell our team is we're focused on one thing. We're going to get a bigger piece of a smaller pie. Somebody's getting a bigger piece of that smaller pie, and it's going to be everybody on this call right now. And that's what I tell my leadership team. And I said, if you focus on anything else, you should just leave. But we're getting the bigger piece of a smaller pie. And that's the message I tell my team every single day. And you need to be out more in front of people when things are tough. So for example, like with social media, when things get tough, when things are good, everybody is on social media like they're Grant Cardone, flashing things and everything's great. But what happens when times get tough, people go back to flight mode. So they go back to flight mode and they're not on social media, they're not out front. I've actually committed to get out in front more on social media because I know we're going through a challenging time. A lot of things are unsure and people are going to look to leadership. So I'm not going to flight, I'm going to fight. So I love doing content. I love putting it out, not just for me, but just for the people who I'm leading because that's my job.
Certainly. And I think there's so many questions based on all that stuff. So if you look at, okay, we're talking about a leadership team and how many people now that you are leading, and it all starts with yourself, right? Like I always have thought and believed that the number one factor in business success is going to be the mindset of the owner, the psychology of the owner. So you have so much stuff going on, right? And which means it could be a lot more problems too. So what do you do on a consistent basis, maybe daily, to manage your mindset and your inner dialogue, stuff like self-development? Like what is your go-to?
I wake up early. I'm up, I have two little kids. I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, which is a huge commitment. And that means a lot to me. Like we were just talking, I was thinking about joining a mastermind, but I would have to be away once a month on a Saturday. And I love taking my daughter to soccer. I love watching her play. To me, that's a non-negotiable. I'm taking her to soccer. So the mastermind sounds great, but right now, I could do a mastermind in 10 years from now. My daughter's not going to be 6 again. So I'm going to cherish the moment. I'm going to take her to soccer. That's our thing. So I get up early. I'm up around 5:30. I usually like to try to get a quick workout in. My favorite part of the day is my morning cup of coffee. When it's dark out, it's quiet, no one's awake in the house, and I can think. Because that clarity is what really keeps me going. Because by then, I usually don't have any emails saying that nothing bad has typically occurred. So I have my cup of coffee, I have my clarity, and I just try to keep things in perspective. My bad day is usually better than most people's good day. Right? So I'm incredibly blessed. I mean, an awesome family. We have a great business. You're going to have adversity, but in the grand scheme of things, it's just life, right? We deal with lawsuits. We deal with inner problems and just inner turmoil with company and people. When you have 350 people, not everyone's going to agree with your decisions. And not everybody's going to get along. You can get pulled into some stuff. But I just try to make decisions that I believe is the right decision. And I tell people is, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. If you're going to ask me a question, I'm going to tell you what I think. So if you want someone who's going to tell you what you want to hear, go ask somebody else. Because I'm going to tell you what I think is the truth because I owe that to you. Or I'm not doing my job as a leader. So in the morning, I just really think of just gratitude, how grateful I am. I'm very close with my parents. They're still with us. I know a lot of people have been through a lot of worse things. I tell people my story a lot. I don't even know if you know this. When I was born cross-eyed. I had to get surgery when I was 2. I was never supposed to play sports. I play golf. I see 3 golf balls, so I just try to hit the middle one. But I had a really bad speech problem. I didn't start speaking until I was 5, 6, 7 years old. They said that I was always going to speak with a stutter or a speech impediment. And now I speak nationally across the country and I could get paid for it. So I just look back and be like, there's always challenges and you're going to fight or flight. And building a business, it's not whether or not you're going to have challenges. It's how many, how big, and how you handle it. So in the morning, I just like to reflect on everything. Just think about how blessed I am. Think about how worse it could be. And just try to, when I look at issues, is this a real issue? Right? Or is this just annoying? And what I've done is tried to build a team to take on a lot of the little issues so I could deal with the big things. I could stick to the vision. I laugh at my company. You don't want me to pay your bills. You don't want me to pay the electric bill. You don't want me to pay an agent's commission. It's going to be wrong. I have people. You got to hire people who are better than you at certain things. So that morning is really big on my mindset. I really got into doing the walks with the weighted vest that you got me onto. I love doing that. I go for about 35 minutes around my neighborhood. I kind of have like a path, like a routine. My neighbors look at me like I'm nuts, right? Yep. Christmas morning, I'm there with like the skull cap. I'm like, let me just get a quick walk in. I love doing it in the winter when it's cold, as long as it's not windy. I put in my AirPods. I listen to something motivational. I listen to a book. I also have a very small circle. So I have a few people that I talk to all the time who are similar positions in life. And that's what happens too, is as you grow in your business, sort of your circle changes. And I talked to him, a couple of my friends who are in the same, like I said, same spots, same kids, same age, same business. And that really helps my mindset because when you're not doing it alone or you have somebody you could bounce something off of who understands it and is able to give you advice. So I have a few people in that circle that I talk to a lot that really helps keep my mindset.
And how often are you talking to those guys or girls, whoever it is?
Almost every day.
Every day.
Almost every day. Almost every morning.
via phone, or is it
via phone. It could be just a 5 minutes. A lot of times they're out doing their walk,
nice?
and I got my weighted vest on, and we're just talking, and it's just that good motivation. I try to get. I've been in a lot of coaching groups. Currently, I'm not in any right now, but that really helps. But just having that circle around you, just somebody you can call and say, "Hey, this is my issue. Oh, I've already had that issue." And I keep myself surrounded by people that I admire, that I want to get to. I have some good friends up in Toronto. They own the biggest Remax in the world. They have a couple thousand agents. They're the ones who turned me on to Signature Coach, which we were talking about earlier. And I just listen to their mindset, and I've learned a lot from them. And they're busy, but I call, they pick up. Sometimes they just call me to check in. They've invited me to some masterminds that I wouldn't think I should be in, but they think I should be in, so they'll invite me. So just surrounding yourself with that right circle is the biggest thing for the mindset. I've lost some friends over the years who, what I realized is I was growing my business, and I'm not flashy and brag about it, but what I realized is they weren't really happy for me. At first it was just like a trolling joke, like, oh, Carl, But then I realized it was becoming true. I was like, oh, they're really just jealous. Or they're not happy for me because they're not progressing. They're stuck in the same spot. I can't be surrounded by this negativity. Yeah, we were friends in college and all these, but dude, college was 20 years ago. Things change. Life changes. I got 2 kids. I'm not going out for the weekend with you, and you just lose some friends and your circle just changes. And I think that's why you and I, over all these years, you and I were friends in high school, middle school. But we've stayed connected because I've learned a lot from you and your mindset, and that just really helps with the clarity.
Yeah, and vice versa, man. I always look to you as an inspiration, man, just following what you're doing. And like we were saying, and I want to go back to the morning routine in a second. 2013, when you bought your first business, so you're coming up on 10 years, but the growth that you've had in that 10 years. Now, I know 10 years is a long time, but it shows people what's possible when you stay focused on something. Like you said out there, what you focus on grows, right? What you focus on is going to expand. What you've done is amazing in less than 10 years to this point.
Right.
Right. So most people can't even do something like that in a lifetime. So it's really awesome. And I love the answer you gave as far as you wake up early. Like that was, you didn't even hesitate. And I think that's something common probably across like 99.9% of people that are highly successful. So with that, a couple of things about the nighttime. Are you getting, like, what time are you going to sleep? And are you planning out your day the night before?
Yeah, so I live by my Google Calendar. I always say if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. I even put in the calendar date nights with my wife, things for the kids, because I know my time is a valuable commodity that I can't get back. So I'm very strict on my calendar. Everything's planned out. 5 a.m., I get an email from Google Calendar with my agenda for the day. But I try to just set my days up where, talking about mindset is I try to control my calendar. So I try not to do any, Monday to me is like a maintenance day. I meet with staff, I handle any issues, I okay any invoices, just the nonsense stuff. I won't do any big meetings or anything with potential recruits or that. I just really focus on maintenance. Friday afternoons, I don't schedule any appointments. My appointments are done by Friday, 12 o'clock. Because I like to have the freedom where if I want to hop out at 12, I can. I stack my schedule for enrollment meetings, I call them, to grow your business development. I try to stack them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then Wednesday's a little bit more maintenance time, a little bit more freedom. In the summertime, if I want to go play golf on a Wednesday in the afternoon, I feel like I want to build that into my schedule. So that's how I kind of look at my schedule. And then Saturday mornings, funny enough, really before kid, but Saturday morning, sometimes I like getting up early. I have nobody calling me, bothering me, and I could get a lot of work done in 2 hours. And I almost enjoy it. Something about a cup of coffee, I do a workout, get on a computer, and then I have the rest of the day with my family. So that's how I kind of set my schedule. You know what it is, too, with the growth? I was listening to David Goggins on Joe Rogan just yesterday. And David Goggins says something, I'm pretty sure it was Goggins. He goes, the worst thing is somebody who's incredibly talented. Because that could be one of the biggest hurdles. because they're so good and they're so talented, but they don't have that mindset to work through that potential level. So they were talking about like UFC fighters, super talented, but they get lazy in the room, so they never get to that next level because they relied so much on talent, where you have a grinder like a Tom Brady who's drafted in the 4th round who just outworked everybody, then the Ryan Leaf who got drafted first and was so talented but didn't have that mindset to work through. And I think when I look at like when I build businesses, man, I was just like a grinder. I was never super talented. I was never super talented at anything. You know, everything I had to like work for, like sports, anything. I just had to grind through it. And I think the consistency over 10 years is what's really helped us build a pretty big organization that I'm super proud of, that we started from basically scratch. But it all comes down to consistency. And it's just the consistent actions. It's just getting up every day. When COVID hit, it was a fight or flight moment, right? And you either fight or you flight. And one thing I've been able to do is just take on challenges. And I haven't always made the right decision. I've made a lot of mistakes. I probably burnt more money than I should have in some things, but it's all a learning experience. But just keep surrounding yourself by people was really good. And even coaches, like the coach I would hire 10 years ago is different than the coach I would hire now. 10 years ago was all about real estate. Now I want to be around other entrepreneurs, other, you know, not 7, I want to be around 8, 9 figures. You know, I don't need to get coached on going to 7. I need coached to get to 8 and 9 figures. So that changes too. And it's kind of like sports. You have your high school coach, but then you outgrow that coach and you go to your other coaches. So I think what a lot of people, I always say business comes down to 3 C's. It comes down to confidence, clarity, and consistency. When you have those 3 things, you have a formula to build a business. If you're not confident, your people are going to see it. If you're not clear on what you want and you're all over, I joke around about realtors. Sometimes you see realtors who specialize in everything. It's usually when someone specializes in everything, they don't do anything, right? Really, your people are you want to get a good niche and you want to go deep and not wide. So the clarity, the confidence, and just being consistent, just like being in the gym, right? It's like you got to be consistent. If you do one workout and eat grilled chicken and don't lose 30 pounds, does that mean it doesn't work? No, it just means you're not far enough down the pipeline. I mean, I use that one all the time. So I think those are the 3 principles that I've kind of used over the years, and just being surrounded by awesome people, man. It's just, people underrate people.
They really do. And I mean, I know you know this saying, but you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Right.
And most people don't really put thought into that. Okay, who am I actually allowing? Because time's the most valuable thing we have, like you said, right? And most people, they don't invest it into relationships, you know, with mentors or just like-minded people, or people that are, like you're saying, going to make you raise your game.
Right.
Right? Because if you're going to be hanging around 4 other guys that are playing at this level, and you're not going to stay here. It's almost impossible.
Right.
Or they're going to kind of not want anything to do with you. And funny enough, I'm finishing up my next book right now, The Indigo Panda, and the part I was writing about yesterday was consistency wins, right? Because it's so powerful. And when, you know, I think about your situation, right? And I think this was a Dan Kennedy line, but he said all overnight successes take at least 10 years. Yeah. Yeah, because people see it now and they're like, well, he was like, whatever it is, he's lucky, or he had this advantage. And like you said, you were born cross-eyed, speech impediment. You know, there was nothing lucky about what you did. It was just the consistency. And let's talk a little bit about confidence too, because I always tell people the 2 biggest assets we have, okay, the most valuable thing we have is time, but the 2 biggest assets is our energy and our confidence. What do you do to protect your confidence? Because like you said, it's never just going to be high all the time.
Right.
So like, what do you have any tips, tricks, or like, what do you do?
I can tell you this is, I think I was talking about this with somebody the other day. I think one of the reasons I've been able to come on and grow is I think people underestimate me, right? Because I'm pretty laid back when you meet me. I'm pretty, you know, generally just nice, but they don't know, you know, the doors are closed and the blinders and nobody sees what's going on. I'm incredibly driven. And if I have a goal that I'm going to hit, I'm going to go for it. So I keep my confidence in business and just in life just by surrounding, again, it comes back to surrounding myself with those people and knowing to make the decisions. I always say one of my greatest weaknesses is I never give myself credit for things I've done because I'm always looking at what else I can do. I kind of have that syndrome of like, okay, we built this, great. I don't want to sit back on my heels. And I think I'll come across people from high school, college, and they're like, oh, I've seen what you've done. You know, I'm so surprised. I'm like, oh, yeah, thank you. Bye, goodbye. Right? I don't care. Don't take this the wrong way. I don't give a fuck what they think. And people are surprised because I'm pretty laid back. But I just have a fire that I don't want to look back when I'm 70 and be like, damn, what the fuck could I have done? You know, I want to go back and be like, hey, I laid it out, and I have no regrets. And I love real estate. I really do. I'm a real estate investor. We have a bunch of rental properties. We do fix and flips with the agent. I always tell my agents you should be buying real estate. You know, look what's happened with crypto, stock market. Remember cannabis stocks that were like the rage, and the tech stocks? Dude, I've never met anyone who owned a piece of real estate for 30 years and said, damn, I regret buying that piece of real estate, right? Never. I know plenty of people bought crypto are like, damn, I wish I didn't buy that crypto, right? They were crypto millionaires and now they got nothing. Okay. So I'm just passionate about real estate. So I think I stay confident because I kind of stay in my lane. You know, I've seen people who have done really well in one business and they go into a totally different business. It's like a doctor that opens up the restaurant. The restaurant just fails because the doctor doesn't really have no idea what they're doing running a restaurant. And to me, that's a confidence blow. But staying in your lane and knowing what you're doing to provide that value, to me, is what helps keep us confident. And I always think, what's the worst case scenario? If I do this and, okay, do I lose a little bit of money? The money I lost, can I get back? Like, what's really the worst case scenario? Or am I going to regret that I didn't do it? So we've been doing some acquisitions. We've been doing some just real cool stuff, just trying to grow, but grow smart. And really just keep providing value to the agents in our company and provide value to agents that are not in our company. One of the best compliments I ever get, it's like an agent who's not in my company who's like, oh man, I've been watching you. I've been going to your trainings. I've been doing this and you've really helped my business. Even though they're not in my company, I still get a huge satisfaction out of that. Did I profit off of it? Not a dollar. Do I care? No, it's going to come back. And that's how you build a good reputation. I've had agents referred to my company by agents who aren't even in my company, who are in one of my competitors. And they'll interview with their company. No, don't interview here. Go interview with Carl. He'll help you. So that's like the biggest confidence boost and the biggest thing. And I think if you just stay consistent, you're going to stay confident. I think when you break the consistency part, I'll use a great example today. I haven't done a Kyle Newell workout in probably 8 years. 8 years ago, I'd walk in here. I was confident because I was doing it. I walked in today. I was like, oh, shit. I was like, oh, this is not going to be like a try workout that I'm used to, right? So I'm not as confident because I haven't been consistent at it. Sure. But if I was here every day, the confidence builds. So it's really that consistency that builds the confidence.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that's brilliant. The consistency leads to the confidence.
Dude, and look at who's more consistent than you. What episode is this?
344.
And you've done one once a week.
Yeah, haven't missed.
And you just did 75 hard?
Just did 75 hard.
This man, Kyle, you are the poster boy of consistency.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. It's I feel like I always fall back on that stuff as far as the you know, I feel it resonates with me, right? When you're talking about like lack of natural talent, right? Like even with sports, I always had the bulldog mindset, you know, get in there and get out. And I was talking with Devin the other day. We went out to Char, had a nice meal, kind of going over divisions for this year and all that. I said, you know, I could always tap in when my confidence is lacking in something. I know I can go do a really hard workout and I'm going to make it through it. Like I'm going to be able to and it gives me that little bit of confidence, right? When I don't know how to do something else, go hit a hard workout. Go for that weighted vest walk when it's freezing outside, you know, and you do something like that. And so I appreciate that. And then from a mind map perspective, you keep mentioning a key word, which is clarity. The brain won't progress, right? It'll go into that. Like, there's a third F I like to talk about too, freeze mode, right? Well, we don't know what to do, and it's you can't fight, you can't run sometimes, and then they just go and they don't do anything. So with the clarity, let's say you don't have clarity with something you're working on. What are you doing in that situation? How are you finding clarity?
I mean, again, I think I go back to people. I bounce things off my circle. I'm like, hey, I was like, I'm thinking this. Am I nuts? Like, I just can't wrap my head around this. Like, what do you think? And I'll get their opinion, and then I'll go to the other person in my circle. Like, what do you think? One thing I think I know is I don't know everything, and that's why I like surrounding myself with people who can help cut down my learning curve. So I think when I'm not clear is I'll get some opinions, I'll make a decision, and then I act. Because you're right, too many people freeze, and when you freeze, that's the worst. You're done. When you freeze, forget it. So I'll take a little time, I'll get some decisions, I'll get my facts, and I'll make the decision and I'll go. That's helped me in my real estate investing career. I'm buying a house now that somebody else had under contract and they didn't perform, and they called me and they say, hey, Carl, we know you're going to perform. Can you close this in a week? I got 2 of these deals now. And I said, yeah, I'll wire the money over in 3 days. No problem. I'll close. So I don't freeze, because if other people go, well, let me see, I got to take a look at the house again, I got to you're not going to get the deal. People call me and they know if I say yes on the deal, I'm closing. Because if you freeze and you pause or you overthink it, then you don't get the deal. And then people come to me, oh, you're so lucky you got that deal. I'm like, man, I'm not lucky. It's like I performed and I have a reputation. I say in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm lucky, thank you. Thinking in my head, I'm like, what are you, crazy, lucky? I was like, I perform, man. I was like, if you don't perform, you don't get the opportunity. This isn't luck. You think this fell in my lap? I said they came to me because they know I'm not full of shit like you. So this is what I think in my head. I don't say all this out loud. You know what I mean? But this is what I'm thinking. I think people get surprised by that because I'm usually like, oh yeah, thank you. And then in my head, I'm like, come on, man. Like, that's an excuse. Right? Oh, people, I can't find deals in this market. I'm finding deals. I'm not superhuman. Right? They're out there. You just got to open up your eyes. You got to put yourself in the place to get the opportunity. And when the opportunity comes along, you have to move. And that's where a lot of people don't do it. I always say is stop getting stuck, getting ready to get ready.
It's that freeze mode, yeah.
It drives me, and I got this from a mentor of mine, this guy Dennis Curtin down in the South, and incredibly smart man. He goes, you can't get ready to get ready, right? You can't freeze. I tell agents all the time is you're never going to have the perfect mailer. Your video is my bad video is going to do better than your no video. My mailer with a misspelling is going to do better than the mailer that you didn't send. So it's all about just taking, and going into this market, I think you have to be able to take massive action. You have to be able to double down on what you're doing. And I tell my team, my leadership team, my agents, is I'm not going to tell you something that you need to be doing that I'm not going to do on my level, right? I'm not better than anybody. I'm not, just because I'm the owner doesn't mean I don't have to work. So I'm telling my agents right now is you need to be out front in social media. You need to have fierce conversations. Your dialogue needs to be locked up, and you need to be killing it with your database, period. That's how you're going to survive this as an agent. But I'm going to do that. Right? I can't tell people like, oh, Kyle, you should be putting out a lot of content, and then you go on my social media and there's no content. Like, what a fraud. If it works so well, why aren't you doing it? So, I hate the practitioner. I hate not the practitioners. I hate the people who see a YouTube video, regurgitate it, and they're not doing it. So we're doing a ton of content right now. We're doing a lot of things to just lead because I owe it to my people. And I tell them that, I'm not going to tell you go make calls, and I'm not going to make calls with you. Like, I'll still roll up my sleeves and do it. And I think that's one of the reasons that we've had a lot of growth. It's like leading by example. Kyle, if I came in here to go to your gym and I saw you do a workout and you look like me doing the workout, I'd be like, I'm not coming here, right? But I come in and I see you beasted. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. So you got to lead by example.
And yeah, I love that you say that you're getting back in there, getting on the phone with your team, right? And doing the dirty work, quote unquote. But the dirty work is really the foundational stuff, right? That's it. And when we get away from that, that's when things start to go sideways, I believe.
Kyle, I'll never forget. how you showed your leadership. It was right after you opened your first Newell Strength in Hillsborough. You were still teaching. And remember you got out of shape,
Oh yeah,
right? And you put the picture up with the head unshaved, the belly.
everything.
You're like, that's it. I'm putting this out there to show everybody, like, I'm going to get back in shape and I'm going to do it. And you did it, right?
Yeah,
And that to me is what leadership is. And to me, we run these things called accountability groups. And part of the thing is you have to declare to the group like what you're going to do in the next week, or 3 little things that you commit to that you're going to do, because it's so important to declare it to a group, which you did. I mean, it had to be 10 years ago now, but
yeah,
you know, you did it. And I remember too, and I was proud of you when you left teaching. Not that there's anything wrong with teaching. My wife was a 3rd grade teacher. My parents worked in education. But it's nerve-wracking to leave a salary and a pension
yeah.
to go do your own thing. And you did it, and I'm sure you don't regret doing it.
No, not for a second. And we talked a little bit about the fear slightly, but with fear, that was kind of a key point in my life when I realized having to really get over that fear, right? Because I loved what I was doing with the teaching. I loved the kids. I had a great relationship with this, the principal and the families. But it was a safety net. And I would always teach my kids in the K to 4, like the 3rd, 4th grade, I would teach them life lessons. And I always be like, if you want to do something, you got to do it. Don't matter what anybody else says. If you believe you can do it, you got to do it. And once I realized that, it reminded me of something you were just saying, that if it didn't work, I wasn't going to die. I wasn't going to sit in the corner and starve. I'd figure something out. And I was like, so wait a minute, the fear isn't real. It's just an illusion that's in the future and the future doesn't exist, right? So the future is always now. It never comes. It's always the present moment. So the future doesn't exist. It means the fear isn't real. It's just an illusion. We have to manage, and we got to figure out, okay, how do we deal with this? Because everybody's going to feel fear, but like you said, most people, it's going to cause them fight, flight, freeze, and it's just going to stop them dead in their tracks. And funny enough, I think you might be the real panda man, because if you said a few things, and I don't think you know the symbology behind panda. I don't know if I ever told you that, but part of it was the panda is viewed as this cuddly creature. You get in the cage with it, it's going to rip you to shreds. So it's got that inner fierce, like you're saying, right? And I always resonated with that too. And then the black or white aspect of it, and this is a key word. It's one of my favorite words that you said a few times now, is decision, which means it's black or white. It's that literally means in Latin to sever, to cut yourself off from any other possibility. I'm going to do this, right? And seeing how you use your words, our words are so powerful. You're not saying, I want to do this. I want to do this. You're saying, I will do this. Right? And that's a completely different level. I want to gives us an out. Yeah, you want to do it, but
No, I agree. And, a lot of people, oh, Carl, look at what you've done. And I'm like, I really haven't done anything. I woke up and went to work, right? I stayed consistent. I'm still thinking of what we haven't done. I'm like, okay, we're at 300 agents. Why aren't I at 1,000 agents? Right? Why? Okay, I have 4 areas. Why don't we have 6, 7 with 100 per office? Like, I'm always thinking about what we could do, like where we could go, what value we could provide anywhere else. And it gets tougher as you grow, no doubt about it. My work day is a lot different now than it was 10 years ago. I think, you were asking me like kind of what your day is now, visionary. Sometimes I feel like an accountant, it's, you deal with just different things. You don't deal with what you deal with in the beginning. And I think that's just, any entrepreneur would say that as you go along. When you first opened your gym, you were the coach.
yeah,
You were the client coordinator. You were the marketing guy. You cleaned it. You did everything, right? Now your day-to-day is a lot different. Sometimes I miss the day-to-day from the beginning, right? Because it's what you grew on, and you deal with different issues and you deal with people. But just being surrounded by, I have a great leadership team. I have great people that push me. We hired somebody from another company, and she came in, and I was like, I felt like I had to prove I knew how good she was. I was like, I had to show her, though, I still know what I'm doing. And I had brought in some agents and stuff. I was like, see, I still know what I'm doing. But just really the people. I think it's the most underrated thing. as when you grow, and not just getting too comfortable. Because when you just get too comfortable, you think, oh, this is all I need, where I need to get. You still got to go. You still got to grow. And you just got to know what your right client is. We're not the right brokerage for every agent. We have a property management company. We're probably not the best property manager for every landlord, but we know who our right client is, and we know that we're going to serve them well.
And you speak to them.
Yeah.
Right? Connect with them.
Yeah. You're not, stop trying to put a square peg into a circle hole, is what I tell my leadership team too. If somebody doesn't think we're the right fit or the right brokerage, it's okay to say goodbye. If somebody doesn't buy into our culture, somebody doesn't buy into what we're doing, somebody wants to just try to stir a pot, you're not the right fit. And that's okay. When I meet with people, I say, listen, I want to learn about you, any questions you have about me, and we can see if we're the right fit. And people are like, well, what do you mean we're the right fit? Well, I might not be the right fit for you, and frankly, you might not be the right fit for our company, and that's okay. But we're going to find this out in the next half hour during our conversation. Right? You're probably not the right gym owner for everybody out there.
Certainly not. Yeah.
And you're okay with that.
Yeah.
You can't look at, you don't want to be a retro.
No.
Right? Or a Planet Fitness or whatever else. It's like you got to know what your who your right clientele is.
Yeah, very important. And kind of going down that path too, reminded me of when you were talking about making the phone calls too, or maybe not being the right fit, or hey, this didn't work out. A lot of people, right? The brain is very sensitive to judgment, which is rejection, right? What have you done? Is it just repetitions with getting rejected? Like, because I'm sure it doesn't even slow you down when you get rejected. Boom, next. What do you do to deal with that? Or what do you teach your team to deal with rejection?
I think rejection is just you just learn it. Sometimes you still get rejected and it still hurts, right? It's just part of business. Nobody's ever going to bat 1,000. Sometimes I got rejected on deals that I look back and I'm like, oh, thank God they rejected that deal. Like, why'd I offer that? I'm glad they said no looking back. So sometimes when I'm rejected, I'm like, this could be the best thing that happened. But rejected, it's just something that comes along. And, I had plenty of losses in my life. I mean, when I wrestled, I didn't win a lot of matches, but I went back out every time, even though I didn't win a lot. So I think maybe wrestling built a lot of character in me. Like I said, I wasn't a good wrestler, but it built a lot of character in me. Taught me how to cut weight, taught me the mental aspect. I say I'm a better business person because I wrestled. Even though I wasn't a good wrestler, I would go back out. And I think that just made a huge difference in my life. So I guess I'm just used to, I lost so much that it's like, it doesn't even bother me. The rejection part doesn't bother because I think the next person's going to say yes. And like I said, it's sometimes when you're being rejected, you don't even realize that's a good thing. Probably if you go back to dating, you got rejected by a girl you wanted to take out. Your probably best thing is that you never ended up with her, right? Because it wouldn't have worked out. Exactly. So sometimes rejection is a good thing. So I just focus on, again, I don't get attached to an immediate result. I get attached to a process. And I think people just saying no and rejection is just part of the process that it doesn't faze me. So I just keep moving forward. But that's a really good question because I don't think I've reflected on how I deal with rejection because I think I'm just used to it where it's like, okay.
Build it up. Yeah, you build up the resistance to it where the callous in the mind, like Goggins says.
Yeah.
Right.
I had somebody ask me the other day, they said, who do you see as your biggest competition? There's all these real estate companies. And he starts throwing out, I was like alphabet soup, all these companies. And I just leaned in at him. I said, you want to know who my biggest competition is? He said, who? I said, myself. It's true. Because the minute I give up, the minute I don't start doing the actions that I need to be doing, that's when my business is going to dissolve. No outside competitor is going to come in and dissolve it. There's always going to be, every company's not the right fit for there's no one real estate agent that's ever going to dominate and take over. And every few years, a new real estate company comes out that everyone thinks is going to be the end all be all, and then another one comes out. So I said, the only person that's really going to hurt my business is myself. And as long as I stay connected and I stay consistent and I stay confident and I keep my clarity, no one's going to stop us.
Yeah, you said it, hit the nail on the head, man. The inner battle. It's always the battle in your mind. right? That's what it's going to be. It's not somebody outside of us. It's inside.
Right.
You know. Now, what do you see? I've got a few more for you in your life right now. If you had to pick coming into 23, one role, because we'll play all these different roles, right, in life: father, husband, entrepreneur, individual, athlete, whatever, friend. What's the one area where you're like, I want to get better at that area?
This year,
Yeah.
definitely my health,
Okay.
my fitness. So you've known me a long time. I've been up and down. I've always had challenges with my weight. So, but this year, I definitely want to make sure my fitness is where I want it to be, because now that we're 41, things aren't as you don't bounce back like you used to.
No.
So definitely my fitness aspect, because that drives everything else, you know. And if I'm not concentrating on that, forget the business. Nothing else matters, right? I want to be around for a long time for my kids, and I want to lead for them by example. So I still go to the gym every morning. So, I like that my daughter goes, "Oh, where were you? The gym?" Right? Because I want to instill into her young that that's just part of your life.
Yeah.
You work out, same thing with my wife, or doing the walks. But really the fitness part is really what I want to concentrate on 2023, because I know if I get that where I want to be, everything else, sky's the limit.
Sure. That's really the fitness is going to be the foundation for the energy, right?
And I'm not just saying that because I'm on your podcast, because I really do mean that. You're right. Someone might listen to that and be like, oh, he's just saying that because it's Kyle's podcast. No, seriously, that's where I know I need to do my most improvement in 2023. And I'm confident enough to be able to say that.
It's good, man. Self-awareness. And obviously, whatever you need in that realm, just let me know, man.
Yeah.
Happy to help you with that.
Appreciate that.
Of course. What are you reading? Or what are you reading currently? And I know I ask you this every time. Favorite book that comes to mind also.
Good questions. Currently, what am I reading? I think you're going to be disappointed in my answer. I think right now I'm not reading anything, but I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. I listen to Joe Rogan. I listen to How They Built This. Have you ever listened to that one?
I don't think, I know of it, but I don't think I've listened to it. It's good?
Yeah, he interviews a lot of entrepreneurs from a lot of different companies, talking about their journey. I just listened to one the other day. It was the guy who created the company Pods. And now he's created a company called Red Rover, I believe it is. It's like now it's like you could drive the pod instead of them having to drop it off. But just listen to how this guy built this business and then built another business. It just makes me realize like the foundation of businesses are just the same. There's no surprise that he built another successful business. It was like I was reading about a short article about the guy who started diapers.com, got bought by like Jeff Bezos for $500 million. And out of spite, Bezos just basically didn't do anything with the company and gutted it. They said it was out of spite. And he started jet.com. And then jet.com got bought out by Walmart. And now he's like on Walmart trying to take market share away from Amazon. So it's just interesting to see how like these people could repeat and build these businesses. So I try to listen to, it's a great podcast if you've never listened to it. I get very inspired to hear other entrepreneurial stories. I mean, that's one of my big driving forces. So when I'm driving, I've been really listening to a lot of different podcasts. I love listening to like David Goggins.
Yeah. Did you get his new book yet?
No.
I got it on Audible, yeah.
It's good?
Yeah, I'm only like 2 chapters in, but it's
right. I mean, he's nuts. I love him, right? Just his mentality. You want to talk about a mindset.
Unbelievable.
And you hear his story and everything he went through and talk about just not making excuses or feeling sorry for yourself. So those are what I've really been listening to a lot lately.
Always learning, though.
Yeah.
Always learning. And then what about favorite book that comes to mind? I know we all have a few favorite books probably, but
yeah, I know I say this one probably every time, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I listen to it like once a year. I made my wife listen to it. I make my kids listen to it. My mom made me listen to it, but it's all about just knowing like assets over liabilities.
I got to go back and listen to that then now.
Yeah.
You're saying you do it every year. Because that book was huge for me when I first listened to it. That got me into real estate with Shane.
Right.
With Sugar Shane. But yeah, Kiyosaki. Have you ever met him?
No, I haven't. I've always wanted to go to one of his seminars, and I listen to a lot of his stuff. But to me, it's just really having that mindset too, because making money is one thing, but like what you do with the money and how you set it up, and how you deal with taxes and stuff is a whole different story. So that really inspired me to buy rental properties. I mean, I bought crypto. The day I bought crypto, it crashed. Like I was, I bought into it. I was like, let me buy a little bit of crypto. It went down the next day. I buy stocks, they go down. It's like I know what I know in real estate, so I try to stick with that. Try to get income producing properties. Really try to set my. I really want to set my kids up. My parents, like I said, I'm close with them. My dad worked in education. My mom did like real estate, but I want to be able to just take it to the next level for my kids, but I also don't want to spoil them. So we don't let them get spoiled. Right?
Sure.
It's funny when you have kids, everything just changes. But and I'm really big. I'm trying to teach my daughter. I'll tell her about buying rental properties, and I just want to instill it young so she can grasp it. Because I just want her to get older and be like, oh, that's second nature. Like I already know how to do that. So I'm very transparent with them about money, about buying assets, what are liabilities, and I just want to teach them at a super young age. So when they grow up, they can really just do their own thing. So we just really focus on that. Like a story, when my daughter was born, they're like, oh, you should start this 529. I don't even know what it is. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I bought a rental property. I said, I make $600 a month on this property. It'll be paid off by the time my daughter's 18. I'll either refinance it to pay for her college, or that could be seed money to start a business when she's ready. It's her property. So again, that's like doubling down on what you know. I don't even because I've been trying to sell so much stuff in financial markets, and it's just like I'm going to do what I know. Right? I'll buy a rental property. 18 years will be paid off. That's hers. Right? My son was born. Here's a rental property. It's going to be yours. Right? So here are Roth IRAs to set you up so when you're retired. So I just really stay focused on that because I just want to make sure, I don't want to spoil them, but I just want to make sure that they're totally set in the future.
Yeah, which is brilliant. I mean, that's how my dad put us through college. He had 4 rental properties in Michigan.
Right.
Time to go to college, sold them.
Yeah.
That paid for it for each of us.
Yeah, so I just think that's why, and a lot of people get scared of managing the properties. So that's why we started a property management company. So we help investors who are scared to do the management part or just don't have the time to do with it, that we know how to do it professionally. So I'm passionate about that, providing that service to people. Because what I tell investors is if you really want to scale your investing company, wait till you have one property in property management and you're like hands off. It's going to make you want to go out and buy more.
Sure.
So we've been doing a lot of work with that.
Yeah. And it's you're talking about your daughter. I actually have the game, but I got to go back and try to understand it more. But I bought years ago. It's probably before Braxton. So Braxton's 7 now. The rat race game, the board game that he has is designed for, I think it's for like kids and all that. But I know it's sitting in our closet. I got to pull that back out, and really play that with him.
And dude, I was lucky too. I remember I was in college. Just talk about sliding glass moments, sliding door glass moments. I was in college. I was kind of floundering a little bit. No surprise. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. So my dad, I said, listen, I think I'm going to get into education. My dad was a principal. My dad was in education. From Hillsborough, I drove to Brooklyn every day, director of guidance. And I thought my dad was going to be like, yeah, you should. My dad, there was a silence on the phone. And my dad's like, if you do it, I'm going to take you out of college. I was like, what? Like, Dad, wait, whoa. That's not the response I was expecting. He goes, listen, I'm a teacher. It was good for me. My parents pushed me into that. He's like, you could always go back later and try to do it. He's like, push for something else. And he goes, so my dad wouldn't let me become an education major, which is just ironic because my dad was in education. So, talk about a different moment where if my dad said yes, I could be in a totally different spot right now.
Be teaching in East Brunswick.
I could be teaching in East Brunswick. I could be teaching in Hillsborough. Who knows what I'd be doing? But my dad said no. And I just always remember that because I was so sure he was going to be like, oh, it's a great idea. Then I had to figure out what I was going to do after that. But that was really, really like impactful in my life.
Yeah, you never realize when those moments are going to happen, right?
Yeah, just a simple phone conversation. And I'll never forget it. I was at the library. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what major I wanted to do. took an accounting class. I hated it. I took a science class. I failed it. I mean, I was just like lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I also knew I enjoyed having fun at college and I didn't want to go home. So I didn't want to get pulled out of college. So I just had to figure it out. And, it's just funny how your path goes and how little decisions can make such a huge impact in your life.
Yeah, huge, man. Last two things I have for you. I want to be mindful of your time. You were talking about wrestling. I vividly always remember, a lot of our buddies wrestled, right? But you're the guy I remember just because whether we were talking about it or like you said, you weren't our buddy Strongdorf, you weren't a naturally talented wrestler that
Right.
could go to states and potentially win states, but you were always in the grind. You were always doing it, and I was playing basketball, obviously, but I always remember you just stuck out in my head. So that's really neat that helped lay a lot of the foundation, just struggling through that, right? And really putting yourself out there in such a great sport as wrestling. Now, last thing, 10 years from now, you're a big thinker. What do you see for your life? If you had a blank canvas, what's going on in your life with the business?
Yeah, so I still think I'll have the businesses. I think hopefully I have developed a lot of good people under me and helped change their lives because that's really important to me. I just don't want to be successful by myself. I want to see everybody under me be successful. So doing that, I think I'll be doing more coaching and consulting, other brokers, other real estate entrepreneurs about what to do. I think we'll probably get into some bigger real estate investments, like apartment buildings and things like that nature, just because we built up a lot of connections over the years who want to invest in some bigger things. So I think we'll be doing that. We'll be doing the property management. Hope to be at my kids' my goal is to be at all the kids' dance recitals, sports events, whatever they're doing. It was tough for my dad to get to stuff because he worked in Brooklyn and all. We're wrestling in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. For my dad to go from Brooklyn to Phillipsburg wasn't that he didn't want to be there; he just couldn't be there. I think one of the greatest flexibilities about being a business owner is that I'm going to schedule that as an appointment that I have to go to my kids' things. So that means a lot to me. So in 10 years, I think I'll be doing a lot of that. I don't know if I'm going to be coaching necessarily, because I think I'll probably have too much of some of that would probably, I'll let somebody else do it. I don't want, I don't see myself being the coach in sports, but I see me being there, supporting them however I can. And really just finding my replacement in the next 10 years and having that person find their replacement and just keep that and keep on growing.
Excellent, man. This has been awesome, dude. This is, I have no doubt that you're going to do that, and I'm excited to see it. And
Kyle, I don't want to hijack your show, but where do you see you in 10 years? That's where I want to know.
in 10 years, I see myself as, it's kind of, funny, like if I'm being completely honest, we were talking about waiting, right? Waiting to get ready to do something. And this is what Devin, she kind of, I don't want to say she ripped into me the other night, but she was saying, when are you going to step into this? Everybody sees you as this. But she goes, it's not, she goes, I can't put my finger on it, but you're not stepping into it as far as the impact you could have, like on a very large scale. So I'm going to step into that, and I believe I'm going to have an impact of, for me, my main focus would be fathers, dads, like to rip dads, but with my fasting and the mind map, I want to help millions of dads around the world because I think I have a message that can resonate with like the perfect person, right? So not everybody's going to like what a lot of people don't like me. A lot of people don't like what I have to say. They don't agree with what I have to say, which is fine. But those people that I can really help, and they're there. So for me, it's stepping into that and having this, for lack of a better term, a celebrity factor as far as helping people with their fitness and their mind and doing it on a very large scale. And then also, I want to build an empire as far as other stuff. Like me and Shane have some of the real estate, but I see what you do on such a large scale. So from, as far as wealth accumulation, I do want to have stuff like that where I have these assets. And it's, seeing, again, like what you did and say, okay, this guy's playing on this level.
Right.
What the hell are you doing? So I want to get, so that's kind of where I see myself in the next, and it's starting right now,
I'm sure you'll do it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. This has been awesome. Big inspiration, man. So, this was great. I learned a lot. Learned a lot. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on. And we're probably going to start back up our podcast. I'll have to have you out to East Brunswick.
Let me know, man. We'll be there. And then how can people follow you or get involved with what you're doing? We'll put it in the show notes too, but like what's the best way to...
I mean, really the best way to connect with me is on social.
Okay.
Whether Facebook, Instagram, I
Just
call
your name?
Sanflippo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, DMs, it's funny how much, business stuff now gets done through direct messenger, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah. So that's really the easiest way is just to connect with me. I love just helping people, and I love doing the speaking part, and whether it's real estate or anything else, or I try to help anyone who's not even in my company, or we do speaking for corporations and things like that. But anyway, get help, just reach out, shoot me a DM. I'd be happy to answer it. If it's about real estate investing, or if you have properties that you want to get managed, whatever it might be, just feel free to reach out. Excellent,
man. Thanks a lot, bro. This is great.
Thanks, brother.
And all right, guys, if you like that, make sure you share it. Make sure you you spread the love with that. We'll be back next week with another episode, and make sure when you listen to this one, go back and listen again, because I know I've already got all these notes. I should have had my notepad sitting here, but I didn't. But all these notes I want to take from what Carl said and all the bombs that he was dropping. So thanks for the support. See you guys next week.